This is IsAware, powered by Intersoft Associates. IsAware is your connection to exploring the systems and software that power businesses like yours with expert insight, experience, and advice.
Welcome back to IsAware. I'm here, as always, with Abe Unger and High Goldstock from Intersoft Associates. And today, guys, we've been talking a little bit lately about migration and the importance of migration and what keeps companies from taking some of the steps that they need to take. Today, I thought we'd be a little more specific and talk about really things to watch out for, things to look out for, pitfalls to avoid, maybe some practical best practices you have in mind if I'm migrating from Visual Fox Pro to .NET. And we've talked about how Visual Fox Pro is old in the tooth, and if you're only now starting to get up to speed with the migration, you might have some other things to think about. But Abe, let's start with you. Why can't I just use the built-in migration tools or the easy to off-the-shelf migration or automation tools that can make this stuff conceivably just shake hands and I'm on my way in half an hour? Is that problematic? Is that a best practice for me?
So using an automated tool may be worthwhile just to see if it works, because something that's very, very simple may in fact work using one of these tools, but more than likely there are going to be pieces or components that are just not going to work that way. There may be some third-party components that are being used in some old application that are just not going to migrate to anything new. So a tool might be able to migrate some of the base, but not necessarily some of these other things. There would be other scenarios. I mean, we had once migrated an Access application by moving that from Access up into a SQL Server database. And even that, the migration tool was having difficulty in data types and management. So that even something simple can potentially have problems with an automated tool. You do the migration correctly, it's going to be okay. Using a tool and trying to find the shortcut, usually not a good way to go. So that's one of the things that you certainly want to keep in mind. And that's just in terms of the conversion, not even taking into account some enhancements that you may want to do as part of that process. So, if you're moving an application from old technology to new technology, there may be new features that you can use, such as security or anything else that you may be interested in, where a tool itself is just not going to do that. Its job is simply to convert, not enhance. But if you're doing that in a review process, you can look at some of those things and say, yeah, this really makes sense to enhance this or change this a little bit rather than just go from A to B. And it gives you that opportunity when you're doing that conversion.
Hi, I imagine that's the easy tools are, as Abe points out, great for easy applications, but I wonder if sometimes they can be an artificial crutch where the thinking is we don't need a professional or, an experienced professional to help us if we just need to flip this switch. And I hear part of what Abe talking about is back to our old consistent discussion about the value of consultation, somebody to ask new business questions, discover new business insights to understand what's right for you, not just in the technical aspect of this migration, but the sort of long-term perspective. What do you think about that?
I agree wholeheartedly. I view the tools as, kind of putting lipstick on a pig in some regards. It might be a little better, but at the end of the day, the odds of it working well for anything serious, if you got a small business and you got to do an estimating program or something, yeah, maybe the tool would work okay. But if you have a business of any consequence, where you're doing a number of things and the software's helping you manage that, they're going to be it's like a minefield. They're going, even if it starts off looking fine, it's not going to once you get into it. And you run the risk of, trying to accommodate it, trying to make it work, and never really, spending too much time babysitting the tool than having the tool help you. And like Abe said, forgetting about, all of that, you're dealing with a burning platform. If you're using Fox Pro, you're more than likely have an older operating system. And as you start upgrading, there are going to be things that just aren't going to work. And there are so many things that, you can do, build a system that's not going to just, limp along for a few years. If you're doing something, something serious, if you've got a relatively substantial small business, which doesn't mean you're doing 100 million. But yeah, I mean, I think they're just a waste of time in general. I'm sure there are those instances where they work. I'm a bit of a purist and I view using them pretty much snake oil.
Is there I don't want to say a danger, but can you find yourself having flipped the switch and taken the easy way out with a bigger mess than you would have ever intended? And now you got to sort of, I don't know, go backwards or untangle something that was a creature of your own design just because you thought it was going to be easier, faster, and here it turned out to be something else. Is that a risk that I take?
Sure, that's a risk. As a matter of fact, I remember a client a number of years ago that did a VB conversion. It was a VB6 to VB.NET and used the wizard. And the wizard made assumptions. Those assumptions were not correct. So you had to go in after the fact and try and debug. Whereas it compiled, it was something that the error didn't come up until you actually started using the application. So it was built, it was compiled, it was said, oh, the conversion worked. It worked well, we're in the new version. And then just the way it was handling variables and doing some of that logic, and it was just a runtime error, and it didn't happen until they started using it. And then all of a sudden, now we're in the new version, we're using this, now we have a problem, now we got to start changing the code and going back and looking at the old code, and did it work, did it not work, and that analyzing everything. So all of that time became wasted time.
Yeah, but the bigger problem is if it screws up your data, you've got to go back, until you realize that it's screwing up. It's one thing is if it screws up right in front of you, that's real easy. But if you don't know that it's screwing up and you find this out 2 or 3 months later, how do you know what data is correct? How do you know you're billing people correct? I mean, there's just so much data, and recreating it becomes a huge, a huge project. So the risks are enormous. And again, you're not getting really the benefit of, an optimal piece of software that's going to, run your business. If you're just, changing from, putting a different suit on, if you're still an old man, you're going to be an old man. And no matter whether you're wearing a blue suit or a gray suit or a black suit, you might look a little better in a tuxedo, but not much. But, you really want to, you want a trophy husband. You want to, yeah, I'm sorry about the analogies, but you really, you really want something that's going to, live with you for years and years and years. And doing that is just, you think it's an easy way out, but it really isn't.
What are some of the, as Hai is talking about, even small or mid-market companies that are going to undertake a migration, what should I keep in mind or keep top of mind where compliance is concerned, security, and maybe emerging security threats, or even redundancies, things that have changed since I would have first built the code, first had access, that now I'm trying to migrate? What should I be keeping in mind where those things are concerned? Not just don't break the application, but make sure that you are, up to snuff as you should be. Right.
So if you're going to do it once, do it right, which means going through the process and analyzing that. Because yes, things have changed. Security has changed. Years ago, everyone would say, oh, if I'm storing credit card numbers in my little application, not a problem. I'm storing social security numbers in my application, not a problem. And if you go old enough, those are open, free text fields. So they're not encrypted. Now you're going to go ahead and look at that. And from a security perspective, you've got all that information. It's all available. It may or may not be encrypted, but even if it's encrypted, credit card numbers, you're storing them. That, these are the kinds of things that, from a security perspective, years ago may not have been a problem, whereas in today's day and age, it is. I remember an application that the primary ID of an employee record was their social security number. And, you got that number in the system. That's something that's used, visible, queried, displayed on reports, on anything, because it was an ID number. So these are the kinds of things to be aware of. Is it's not just getting from A to B. It's you want to make sure that when you're there, you're in the good, you're in the clear.
But to underscore that, if you're taking just putting a coat of paint on this older application, you're missing all the things you need to do today. Multi-factor authentication, and you got to do it correctly. There was a big issue recently where somebody was hacked. Well, he was hacked because the authenticator went to his phone, a text message to his phone. So the hacker spoofed his phone and went to his phone. And so you got to, even multi-factor authentication, you have to do right with all these, verifiers, be it email, be it there's Norton and Google. There are a bunch of things that are linked to your particular phone or something else that's unique that someone can't get. But you're not going to have that. You're not going to think about it. And that's nowadays, that's really, really, you're really, really vulnerable over there. So there's so many things that you don't want to do, which can cost you a ton of money, and certainly cost you a ton of money just in cyber insurance. If you don't have that.
And talk to me a little bit about the customer experience, because the big threat that we're all so used to now is, we regret to inform you that we've detected a security breach and that your, credentials and this, that, and the other thing have been discovered. And we're going to give you a year free of something to help you feel better about it. But the customer experience, aside from the business sort of, mechanical aspects of this, when the customer loses confidence in you, that's hard to win back. And this area where privacy or security is concerned is intensely sensitive for people.
Yeah, you feel violated to some degree when that happens. I remember back when the earth cooled, when people used to dial to AOL and they were getting busy signals. Okay, we can't access it. We have an email address. For a period of time, AOL, continued, even though they had all the issues. But have one security breach where your stuff is. You're looking somewhere else to go. I mean, it can bring a company down. So especially if you're in the B2C world, you're direct to consumers. That's really, really tough. B2B, there's a little bit more knowledge of what's going on, and they're a bit more forgiving, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But yeah, I mean, there is no real easy shortcut. There's no get rich quick scheme when it comes to doing the conversion. You have to do it right. If you're using old software, you felt your business would benefit by having software, and do it right, and it'll live on for years and years and years to come, rather than doing it the quick and dirty way.
It's great feedback. It's great expertise, and it sums up really nicely, Abe, in what you said. If you're going to do it once and do it right. Abe Unger and Hy Goldstoff from Intersoft Associates, thanks as always for your expertise today, guys, on migration and on some of the best practices we should keep in mind. We look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us for IsAware, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one today. IsAware is powered by Intersoft Associates, who believes the more you know about your IT, the better. Visit us at intersoftassociates.com and schedule your free consultation to talk about how custom software can help your business.